Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Ann Dieter Gallagher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go! Happy podcast day, Sue Pera, Annie Carnathan. This is a special day. Every time we're together, it's a special day.
The honorary mayor of Camp Hill, Sue Pera.
I know. Sue, when we talk about women in business, we talk about entrepreneurship, Annie. We talk about women in high gear.
Checks every
role
single
models,
box.
community servants, leadership. That is, I'm looking at the epitome of all of those qualities. Sue Pera, thanks for all you do. I have had the honor of calling you a best friend for a long time. Now, we do have history.
A bestie.
We do, yes. We do have history. We share the same high school, not quite the same year.
Yes, right. Please, no bragging.
We were both cheerleaders at Camp Hill, so yeah, we
we were
could
both
at any
cheerleaders.
time erupt into a take a V, add an I. Try a CTORY. But anyway, I've been honored to watch your business flourish. You have hit 30 years at Cornerstone Coffeehouse?
Yep, we will this year.
Like what's the percentage of small businesses that hit 30? I want to say it's less than 5%.
Yes.
Are still in business
I would
after.
say yes. And not only be in business, but be relevant
Oh, there you go.
in business. Yeah.
And so for in the hospitality business to have survived COVID and the pivots that you did with that and you're stronger and more relevant than ever. I think that's quite the accomplishment.
Yes.
But you're really, Sue has been active in leadership in just about everything, statewide, regionally, and on, one of the founding board members of Downtown Camp Hill Association, which is an organization formed to revitalize small businesses on Market Street in downtown Camp Hill. But Cornerstone has become, has been the heartbeat of our small town.
Thank you. You have said that, and I really love it every time you do.
Well, and
Thanks.
I have so cheers to our video friends. I've got my Cornerstone Coffeehouse, and we are recording in Heart Month. So shout out to Peyton Walker Foundation.
Yes, absolutely.
Amen.
For CPR and AEDs and educating on sudden cardiac arrest, which you obviously, as the community hub, you're such a vital part of education in our community and just being able to use your coffee shop to educate others on what the needs are. So give us a quick synopsis, because I always think these episodes are way too short, on your growth. Like how you did not start in Coffee Shops 101. How did you?
No.
How did you
I
come
definitely
to
didn't.
Cornerstone?
I sort of, went from graduating from college to a sales job, of course.
There you go.
Of course. I sort of got that
After my own heart.
Yes. See, I mean, we're just from my father who, and
Yes, yeah.
who was certainly the salesperson of the year every year for me. And then quickly moved into IT during the 70s and 80s and 90s. And then towards the late 90s, I decided enough of working for somebody else and enough of working in IT. I really wanted my own business, and I wanted
can
it
I just
in
cheers to that?
hospitality.
Cheers to that.
Girlfriend.
Yes,
Cheers.
yes,
Cheers.
yes.
Yes, definitely
Okay.
cheers to that. So thankfully, I feel so fortunate to have found something that I absolutely love to do and something that fits who I am.
Great.
There you go.
Great.
It is. It's the Cheers bar of Camp Hill.
Thank
it is.
you. It is.
Everyone
yes.
knows your name. You know everyone's name. And I'm fascinated by the connection of people. Because offices aren't that anymore. There's a huge delta right? Between people in their house for regardless of and out. And that place, your place, that central location is teeming with humanity.
Oh, that's a good word.
It's
Teeming.
delicious.
Right.
It is delicious, but it's just, I'm fascinated by that.
I've often said it's not just a coffee shop. I mean, we can get coffee anywhere.
Right.
And communities aren't known by the amount of large chains they have. They're known by their organic meeting places, and we call them third spaces. It's if you're not at home and you're not at work, where do you meet? Cornerstone is that meeting place for our entire region. But do you ever stop to consider how many deals are brokered, either in your back gorgeous kitchen or in the front of house at the coffee shop? How many young people literally wrote their entrepreneurial idea on a Cornerstone napkin, or invited a CEO for coffee at Cornerstone, or
fell in love.
Or
got a proposal.
That's a good one.
Or
Annie, that is true.
I mean, it's everything that is the spirit, right?
Yep.
And honestly, as you sit here, Sue, because I don't know you well, and I'm connecting the dots of why that is you. And who wouldn't be thrilled for you, be thrilled for that space? You don't work a day in your life.
Yeah, I sort of sometimes feel that way, even though it's probably the hardest thing I've ever
is.
done. But I am, again, just so fortunate to do what I love to do. And you talk about community. You know, when we talk about that, it's something I really didn't think about. I was thinking as a means to live,
right,
and to buy a house and to buy a car, not thinking about the greater depth of what Cornerstone Coffeehouse has truly become, which, just as you said, for every reason both of you mentioned, Cornerstone is certainly the hub of this region.
They fell in love. Now their kids are there and strollers beside them. They didn't have
that's
dogs,
such a great
and now
idea.
the dogs grew
Yeah.
up, and you can see it.
And it's not even an idea. It's true. It has happened. A number of
It
people
has manifested,
have
yes.
met there, have got married, and now have kids. And,
Oh,
you know,
that's so
sometimes I
fun.
don't know until after the fact that they met at the
Met at
Cornerstone.
Cornerstone.
Last year, I went to buy a car. And the person who helped me learn how to use all the gadgets in the car, he and his girlfriend of maybe a year had met at Cornerstone.
No way.
And now when I've talked to him just recently, he said, yeah, I think I'm going to get engaged to her. So isn't that great? So it does happen, Annie. Yep.
It does happen, and I have to tell you, and I mean, you'll have to get us back on the rails as usual, but what is also incredible to me, and I know it day to day in our business, is your people.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
there are so many moving parts there, an extraordinary amount of moving parts. From the food in the case to ordering food to specialized kind of like it's wild. It's wild. As maybe there are 8 or 10 people in line, and if it's summer, they're out the door, and so they're out in the lawn, and so that has to be extraordinary to you to attract and have that kind of talent, who I think cares every bit as much as you do. And I don't even know that. I know how they make me feel.
Oh, that's
Well, and you don't
so
have
great.
the struggles of the workforce that most companies have, which is another sign.
Especially in that vertical,
Right.
holy smokes.
You have people with college degrees who are choosing to serve the community at Cornerstone.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
You know,
What's
and
the
you
secret
both
sauce?
know it. It's the culture that
Yeah.
you bring to your business. It's the Sue and the Owl.
Yep.
It's the Nicole Miller.
We don't
want to
leave Al, your husband, out
Oh
of
no,
this
we
either.
don't want to leave Al out.
Who was fondly called Big Al.
Big Al, right, right. But you know, it's the whole thing. It starts at the top. We all
Yeah.
know that, but it comes down, and they just sort of learn through you or me or whomever to treat people well.
Right,
They emulate what I might do,
What's
or
modeled.
what Nicole is
Yeah.
doing. It's just, and again, it's all in how you treat the people who work with you.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
we treat them well. We treat them as though they
Family.
are. They're
Yeah.
equal to me. They're equal to everyone in this room.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, I'm very adamant about that. It's a passion.
Yeah, and you're not going to get it over on me.
Yeah,
if,
no.
if you're just, it's
Yeah,
not like
right.
it doesn't
Right.
feel like
Right.
Starbucks. To Anne's point up front, it doesn't feel like any other place to be.
Thanks.
And so that is walking the walk. There's no way that just happens. And it's extraordinarily difficult vertical, especially through COVID,
Right.
especially through having that job. And so I think, Sue, when I listen to you, why do you have such a need to lead? In all the different, Anne said you serve as a leader and a servant
yes.
on so many
Yeah,
different
sorry.
levels. What is your need for that? What drives that?
I think it's sort of innate in me. I think as a young child, I always was sort of wanting
parents.
to lead.
Yeah.
And it does come from my
shocked at
parents.
that.
Yeah, I know. You know,
I think my
imagine.
parents would have said the same.
They wanted, it's not that my parents vocally said, I want you to be a leader.
Yeah.
But it just sort of came naturally from my mother and my father. My mother in particular, because I know, Anne, you know my mother, Nancy Besh, who was a former Cumberland County commissioner. She was a force to be reckoned with. She's smart.
But the sweetest
She is
force to be reckoned with.
Oh, no, the
Yeah.
sweetest force. But she just knew. She was committed to what she did, and she was a leader in so many ways. Anything that she was involved with, she was the leader of the pack. She saved Wilson College.
Yeah,
She
wow,
was the
wow.
leader. She headed the Cumberland County Commissioners because
Yeah.
she's a leader. And so I get it naturally, of course, from her, and then I get so much of my nice personality. Not that my mother isn't, but my father was the nicest man.
Aw,
And Anne,
well,
I know
being
you knew
successful
him.
in sales,
and very
yeah.
successful
Yeah.
in sales. Me and Annie, right?
Well, and I think too, just listening to that, I wouldn't have mistaken their kindness for weakness.
Right.
Because when you're a leader, you need collaborators.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
need to
Yes.
shed sort of along the way all the people that aren't going to share the mission, share their load, share the ideas and the vision. And that's super, super difficult in the same vein as the nicest people ever. Right?
Right.
It's just mistakes happen. There's especially as a woman, right? To have her personality, to have that accomplished. I'm like, oof, man, they're heavy lifts.
Yeah.
Right? She had to break a few eggs.
Right.
She had to break some barriers too, my mother.
I'll bet.
And my mother helped me to break barriers within me, therefore within my friendships, therefore within my staff that works with
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It's so important to me in particular, because I know this is a program that, we want to make sure that women have the same opportunities as everyone. And so I really encourage my staff to not be afraid, to be strong, to stand
Find
up
their
for
voice.
who they
Yeah.
are, to find a voice. Right. Yes.
Our purpose here, Sue, I know I've mentioned a couple of times, is to shorten the learning curves of other women. And so, born from our own curiosity and our own paths to executive leadership or business ownership, I often said, shoot, I wish I would have known that. I wish someone taught me that.
Yes.
Because I started at age 40, I didn't have 30 years to figure this journey out. So I was not at all above asking male CEOs, female CEOs, anyone, yourself included, who I thought had influence to just, ask every question possible and learn from them and fill my own mind. But when we often think about, we've had many guests on here who are business owners who started their business, like Pamela Hill. Her episode came out today. And they're, you have this business model or a strategy, you got to put down your business plan. But starting a coffee shop, we talk about cultures and you're going to attract and retain workers. You probably didn't put in that business plan the personality of the workers you wanted or what you wanted the atmosphere of the coffee shop to be. My point is there's so many soft skills on this side of the ledger. Like, yes, you have to convince your banker to, invest in you. But to get Cornerstone off, from paper to property, you had to have a tremendous amount of soft skills.
Well, you have to. But may I just take it back and just say, just to get a bank to invest
Yes.
in me.
Tell us about that journey, because we've had almost all of our women talking about that. It was almost like getting a root canal.
No, I mean, it is. It is like getting a root canal. It's a rude awakening when you think that you've been successful and then you go to a bank and find out, oh, you're going to need a lot more than that.
Yeah.
You're going to need your husband to be here with you. Now, this
Right.
is back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
that's recent,
It is. It is.
So, no, it wasn't the late 90s, early 90s. But the other thing is that even that, it's hard for women. I hope it's not as hard now, but even 25 years ago when I went to finance the decision when we decided to buy Cornerstone, I still, even with my success at my former
cheese shop,
business
yeah.
at Breads and Cheese of Hershey, I still had to prove myself.
Yeah.
And the bank that I had been using for those 10 years at Breads and Cheese wanted me to prove myself
You already had
what
10
I
years.
already did.
Yeah, right.
And I remember thinking, oh my God, I have to go through this again. And my brother-in-law, Rod Pera, said to me, Sue, there are other banks.
No, I was going to say,
I'm
did
like,
you?
duh, right? There
Yeah,
are other banks
yeah.
because, we sometimes as women,
We're loyal.
We lock ourselves into.
We're loyalists.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, there are other banks. Literally,
I can leave?
I went right down to Pennsylvania State Bank.
Oh,
It
that's
was
right down the
here.
street. Yeah.
Yep.
It was
And
right down the street.
Jeff
Yeah.
Myers, who then went to Centric
Centric.
Bank. Jeff was down there. He was the loan officer.
Oh, you're one of your good friends.
One of the greatest
I love
humans
him.
on the
I love
planet.
him.
He is everything.
Yep.
Look
that
at
a
the
human
small
should be.
world.
Oh,
Yes,
and
look at
I
that small
mean,
world.
just as like what he says, you can bank on
Right.
it. No pun intended, right?
No,
He's
So
just,
you went.
He believes.
Absolutely.
He believed in me. I mean,
awesome.
literally within 24 hours, I had a loan. I was done,
and many
we
other
were in.
people since then. That
Yes,
has
yes.
been
That's
his
awesome.
impact on
Yeah.
the
That's
world.
awesome.
Yep.
So I encourage women, if they ask me, how did you do this? What do you do? Where do I start? There's always, you start it with a business plan,
Right.
but don't take no for
Yep.
an answer.
Totally agree.
You have got to use your voice.
Yeah.
And we have heard so many ant and rubber tree plant stories of women who just wouldn't take no.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the early things Ian and I, when her son Ben was doing our G&G song, is like there was no plan B for him.
No.
There's no plan.
No.
There was no plan B for me.
Nope.
And so many of our guests, there was no plan B.
Right.
Pamela
Right.
Hill's a perfect example, just because she's the most recent. But we could go back. I mean, almost everyone had a setback.
Yep.
And a comeback.
Yes,
For
yes.
not letting someone
Right.
else define any part of them. The dentist.
Right.
She had the same issue.
Sarah
remember?
Lorei.
Yeah.
Pamela Hill went to 7 banks before number 8 said yes, and that was M&T. This is 25 years ago, and she's still with M&T because and the ones who said no have since over time come back and asked for her business. I said this is like Pretty Woman, when she comes back in there and it's a big mistake.
We need
Big
one
mistake.
person, ladies, to believe in us.
Yeah.
The advocacy has to start with yourself, but someone out there will believe in you. And sometimes it only takes one person.
But if you,
Right.
when you're wise counsel, Sue, to younger women, especially, good, and this is applicable to younger men too, who are trying to figure out how to approach a financial institution, credit union, or bank. You're going to have no's in every step of this journey in business of ownership. You will have no's. It might hurt. You might be offended. You might be upset. You might want to crumple up your business plan and throw it away. Get back in there like the wrestlers. Get back up there on the mat and go in again and knock on another door or another door. So we can't wallow in that, but that's good for you that you know, good for your brothers and you realize there are other banks.
Right. There are other banks.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
really? Well, and you have said this to me, and I remember the first time you said it, put your big girl pants on.
I know.
You know, get out there
Yeah.
and find it and do it. If you believe in it, you know.
You were meant to
Rework
find
it.
Jeff Myers, in my opinion, because that's
yeah.
that's
right.
someone who has believed in many entrepreneurs. And I think that's what makes him special. I think that was centric to centric,
Yeah.
you know, as far as the
Uh-huh.
missions go.
Right.
And so you need community banks that aren't going to necessarily look at the paper, especially after 10 years of success. Like,
Oh
what?
my gosh, are you
What?
kidding?
Yeah.
It's offensive to me, and I'm like, I wasn't even there, right? But it's
so
like, wait, what do you
offensive.
mean, right? Yeah,
Yeah, are you kidding?
Yeah,
But, and
so-
that was, 25 years ago. But I think the other thing that I think a lot about, and you mentioned it, Anne, is I started out in my late 30s in my doing my own business. I never had a mentor. All I knew is that I like to cook and I like people. So mentorship is so important. Mentorship to me is key, and I never really had it.
I didn't
Yeah.
either.
I
Yeah.
never
I
have,
didn't either.
and even to this day, but if I can say my mentorship then came from being on boards,
Yep.
being on committees, volunteering yourself, which again to me is just another key component to making yourself within yourself more successful, be it financially, personally, whatever it is. We as women have to be involved.
Well, every time we see Cornerstone, you know, sponsoring, of course, I'm going to say Salvation Army because you've been
Sure.
gracious. Even through the pandemic, you were so gracious about delivering sandwiches or coffee or soups or whatever in any, you know, for our team that was trying to keep the rest of the community served that was underserved. The amount of time you've invested in others, the amount of auction baskets I have seen you. That's a quiet reminder to the community that Sue has invested. You know, when we talk about the bigger brands, they're not buying advertisers or PR services in our backyard. They are not sponsoring our little leagues. They might be doing things on a national, but it's incumbent on the small business community that keeps the rest of all the school events, the athletics, the PTOs. You're the one that's sponsoring those. And that's a wonderful example for young people as well to roll up your sleeves and get involved. And it does have a business strategy involved there. Like you said, people see how you behave. Maybe it's on a golf course, you know, and you decide to sponsor, you know, a hole or a company or something.
right.
And you use that to learn more about business opportunities or individual leaders. But I love seeing how, I mean, I often marvel, how are you serving in all the capacities you're serving? But I've been privileged to sit on committees with you. And, you know, I'm thinking back of the early Vistage group.
Oh, yes.
And we learned a lot together. And I think that's really our goal. Annie was constantly saying, younger people, listen to our stories because you can save yourself a lot of time and hardship, you know, by learning from our lessons of how we did things.
I think the dearth for me of mentors now is completely what drives me. The most important thing, especially for young women, is to see their career grow, is to see them get promoted, is to do this show so graciously with guests and with Anne and with our time and our investments. It's just I'm close to being obsessed with it. And so I think that's what we're trying to do with this in real time through stories, and not just necessarily ours, which we've sort of shared in a deep way. It's through yours, because women are wildly successful if we can just have a forum to amplify that and listen to that story and apply it to someone's life. And so that's what I really love about this show, is our guests being able to say, whew, you know, this is what I wish I knew then.
Right.
Right. To sort of say directionally, consider this. consider as much as you can out there and then apply it to yourself, your personality, your style, your situation. And by all means, run into us at Cornerstone to be able to figure out how we can have coffee together, right?
But you
Follow
know, when
Sue
you-
wherever she is.
Right.
She's holding court somewhere. So
But think about what you both are doing. I mean, I'm not trying to turn the tables, but how young women are going to be listening to this show and getting some great information from women who have been in the workforce
Right.
for a while, very, very different parts of life, and how it will affect them. How
And
it's
the
going to affect
determination,
them.
right? I love
Yes.
hearing you talk about your parents.
Yeah.
I mean,
huge.
let's pay some homage. And now this half hour for anyone in your life who hears it is recorded history in perpetuity for your career. And that's neat to me.
Thanks.
You know, and so parents and kids and, you know, it's just this huge sort of chapter story of success and how sometimes it really gets off the rails.
Yes.
I think they don't, what you shared, Sue, they don't teach in college.
100%.
And we've all been to college. There are entrepreneurship classes. There's entire schools of business, you know, for Wharton. All of those are designed. But
Hip hip hooray.
to hear the stories and the personal struggles, those aren't being lectured about very often. If they are, I never heard them before. So I think this is like a professional development course for anyone. Like go through the guests. How did they start a business? What were their fears? What were their challenges?
What were the dark moments where
Well, and you're very good at
you have to get back up? Let's go.
pulling that out of people, which kind of gives anyone with a business idea, you want to take off the rosy colored glasses. Like you know, there'll be dark days and down days and days where you think maybe this wasn't the right investment. Maybe if you have investors, there's days you're going to have to go back and convince them, like, you know, 10 bank loan officers, why they should still believe in you. But I firmly believe if you're able to meet a need with your business, you're going to succeed. So clearly, you're not selling coffee.
No.
You're selling just the opportunity to build a sense of community, to meet colleagues, to discuss, you know, business or home. For new moms, it might be their first time out of the house with their newborn. I'm going to Cornerstone. And I want to observe through the pandemic, Sue stayed open. You put your apron back on, came out of the C-suite, back into service mode. And it really, from the outside, it was a wonderful symbol to the rest of us that things were going to be okay.
Oh, that's nice, Anne.
Cornerstone was still
food.
They were still serving
Right?
coffee. And it was the perfect gesture of hospitality. Like, okay, we don't know what the future holds, but Sue is still open. And she's still delivering coffee to UPMC and to Penn State Health and wherever you were needed. Holy Spirit at the time. You're delivering nourishment and food and just a constant soft reminder that we are a community and we're better together and we're going to get through this. And that's what I took out of having you open, which I loved having you open.
Thank you.
At the risk of your health and your team. But so I think my point is when you start with your business idea, it's never just the business.
No.
You know, we
Never
could talk.
goes
How
that
many
way.
people do you employ?
Right now, I'd say about 20. Yeah.
So that's 20 and spouses and significant others. And there's new moms that are, I just saw one in today with her little guy.
Yep.
I mean, that's a huge investment in the community.
It is. Yep. You may think it's insignificant, but it's not. It's very
No.
important.
Oh, I think it's one of the most significant things in Camp Hill.
Yeah. Well, think about that. All the women-owned businesses
I know.
along Market Street and Camp Hill. And, you know, if we can affect 10 people, great.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Now, is there anything, Sue, we love to talk about business vitamins and you shared several. Anything you would tell your younger self that you can say on this podcast?
Yeah, right. Well,
Is there any lessons or maybe an element of surprise? You were surprised to know how confident you were, or anything you would say, I wish I had done this better.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and we've already touched on it. I wished I had had a mentor.
Yeah.
I wished I had been able to see more of the financial part of my business.
Right.
I mean, I see it now, but it took me a very long time. I really, I did everything that I've done over the past 35 years through intuition.
Yeah.
It just sort of, that feels good. That sandwich will sell. That cookie that we just came up with the recipe for, that's going to sell. But, the real nuts and bolts of that business, I wished I had someone there.
When you go to
going fine,
the
but-
bank loan officer and you say, I just have a hunch I'm going to succeed.
Yeah, right.
They're like,
yes.
no.
Yeah, no, that's not going to work. Yeah.
But
right.
without the
Right.
intuition,
Right.
which
Right.
is the secret sauce to success for almost
Instinct.
every small business
That's
owner.
what a culture's built on, believe it or not.
And if you're not
good to
oozing
hear.
with that, there's nobody's going to invest. They're going to say, well, why do I feel more excited? Even when you watch Shark Tank, you see those entrepreneurs like jumping out of their skin. Like this is, I love what I do and I think it will add value. So I did not have an early mentor either, but what I would say is go find someone you admire. Now younger women know to ask. If someone hasn't approached you to be in a mentor-mentee relationship, it doesn't have to be a big formal contractual thing. It's look around your community to some executives that you admire.
Right.
And want to aspire from. And the mentor relationship is as simple as saying, can we meet for coffee once a month, of course, at Cornerstone?
Of course.
And can I ask you 5 questions every time we meet?
And, over the years, I have done something like that with, certain people.
Right.
Yourself included in. So I found my niche of mentors,
Yeah.
which is great that I can...
your tribe.
Yes,
Yep.
my tribe of people. And I know, Annie, you've mentioned you got to have a board of advisors, which
100%.
sounds like it's just
That'll
so
tell you the
successful.
truth.
Yes, right.
There's no
Yes.
cosmetic
No.
part to it. I know they love me. I know they understand me. I know they value me. All the things that are important to me. I know they're loyal. And so I couldn't. I mean, and I think that circle of influence, Sue, has shrunken as time's gone on. But I think that's by design. I'd much rather plug into someone who has that special currency versus sort of the losing proposition of trying to be all things to all people.
Yes. No, we can't.
None
we
of
just
us
can't.
can.
I wanted to, Annie.
We all did,
Couldn't.
right? and
Learned that.
That's it. And,
Right.
and we're out of time, of course. And I don't
Right.
usually extend. Ann does, but what I want to observe about you, and again, my intuition or my instinct is, I believe when there's conflict or difficult things that have to be addressed, I think you probably have a conversation, don't you?
I definitely do.
No,
I
you two are
definitely
very
do.
similar.
Yes. Yes.
You two
yes.
are very, you both wear the same big girl
yes.
pants.
But-
Right.
And just to gravitate toward that, because that's how I communicate. I communicate that way for a living.
Truth serum.
I communicate that with ourselves. And look, I know there are times when I misfire from a style standpoint. I wish I had done it differently. And usually I just have to like make a several laps around till I land right. And because you're just qualifying. But that's just the way it is, right? So I think that is an art form to be able to have and technology drives me batty, which is also why I love Cornerstone, because I like people.
Yeah.
I don't want a text. I don't want an email. Could we just like I say, babe, could you just call someone? Like call? Like
What?
on the phone? Well, I don't know how else
Right.
unless you have a megaphone. And so I just appreciate that about you. And I don't think that's old school. I don't think that's anything other than how people were meant to connect. And that's people are like, I could never do that. That's too hard, blah, blah, blah. But you either get to that crux of it or you don't.
Right.
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 And I don't think it's doing them any favors. Or whomever you're having the conflict with to communicate that. So I appreciate that about you.
And I definitely do that. Sometimes
You have to if you're a leader.
Yeah,
in my
no.
opinion, right?
Well,
the hard
I've heard
part.
you say before, Annie, sorry, I know you so well, Ann, but Annie, I heard you say that you're an acquired taste.
Oh, you've said that on
Once a show.
Yes, once a show. So I will say the same thing about me. I think Ann would nod her head in agreement.
I had a quote
I'm definitely
last
an
show,
acquired
yes.
taste.
And I had a
Yes.
quote later. It was Leo DiCaprio. I'm a big quote person.
yeah.
I send my son one every day. And Leo DiCaprio said, I'm 97% sure you don't like me. I'm 100% sure I don't care.
Oh, no.
That's Leo.
Oh, God.
Here I
Yeah.
come, guy. You know, that is me. And I say I don't care just in so far as I don't like I get it. Like I probably don't like you either.
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's all good. Like, you know, and so I'll just find my way away as quick as I can get there, right? It's just-
Right.
So anyway, we do have to
We
do have to end it
digress,
there. You're
and we-
just like it. You're down the street, so you come back anytime.
I
That's all.
know.
It's our show.
So I'm going to throw out to any listener who is thinking about starting a business, you have to stop in at Cornerstone Coffeehouse on Market
amen.
Street in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania.
World
It's not a
headquarters.
far drive from wherever you are in Pennsylvania or New Jersey or Delaware or Maryland. And have some coffee time with Sue Pera.
Oh, I
and
would love that.
learn what are some of the ideas you have, insights you have for young people who have big ideas and want to bring it to market.
I love that.
I think all
Love
big
the
ideas
ending.
start with a cup of coffee.
It's the art of the connection. Thank you, Sue Pera.
Have a
Thank
high
you,
gear day,
Annie.
Sue Pera. We love you.
Thanks, Ann. Love you guys too. Thanks.
Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.